What are you making?
I'm mixing up a stew to give corporate a different view. Have a taste. Welcome to the Corporate Kitchen. I'm your host, Tiger, and today on the menu is geographic preference. This is specifically related to your career. So, whether you're talking on a job application or before when searching for a job, there's always that one section that reads about geographic preference. Where are you willing to move to? That is one of the most critical aspects of career development that, in my opinion, is not talked about enough. A lot of big corporations in the United States are expanded across the country. And if you get any bigger, they're expanded across the world. So you have to make a choice of how wide, how big are you going to make that circle to cast that net of job seeking. Are you going to stay within your small town, within your county, within your state? Or does that net get casted across all the continental United States? Or does it get casted globally? As we talked about with the business travel episode, there are a lot of opportunities to travel and be able to test the waters before finalizing your decision. The reality is, though, it is a decision that you have to make. So let's dive a little bit deeper into it. According to the Merriam-Webster, the definition of geographic as an adjective is 1, of or relating to geography, 2, belonging to or characteristic of a particular region. Then we take preference as a noun. That is 5 things. 1, A, the act of preferring, the state of being preferred. 1B, the power or opportunity of choosing. 2, one that is preferred. 3, the act, fact, or principle of giving advantages to some over others. 4, priority in the right to demand and receive satisfaction of an obligation. 5, offensive. So if we put number 2 of geographic and number 1B of preference together, we get the power or opportunity of choosing the belonging to a particular region. Now, let's say that one more time, a little bit slower. The power or opportunity of choosing the belonging to a particular region. Obviously, you can Google geographic preference in totality to get a more wholesome, direct definition. AI in Google typically shows geographic preference as referring to have a particular fondness or inclination towards a specific location or region. Pretty much what we're saying when we put the Merriam-Webster definitions of each individually together, right? I'll say it one more time. The power or opportunity of choosing the belonging to a particular region. The key word there is not region. It's or. The key word is or. Power or opportunity. The reason why that's the key word is some movement is not optional. I will give validation to those people that aren't able to move when you are choosing to stay local to your area because you are a caregiver or you want to stay close to family, too scared to move. There's a lot of different variables that can factor in that makes you choose to stay put. You're giving the power of not leaving and holding that power of staying and being close. And that's valid. And then there's the other side of that as well, where if you're in, the military or like a traveling nurse, some of those opportunities may not be optional of where you actually go. If they need you in a certain area, you go to that area to support. If you're filming a movie, obviously the set is not necessarily in your hometown, but you also don't have to live where that is. So it's a balance. But the reason the key word is or is that there's 2 things at play. There's the power and then there's the opportunity. If we start with the power aspect, the first key takeaway that we have to talk about is most of the time it's your choice. If you're filling out an application, there's likely a section that asks about geographic mobility. What's your geographical preference? And you can identify where you're open to live. And talking to a lot of people in my career, you hear this line all the time. I'm willing to leave for the right number. So there is a level of influence, a level of power available that can guide you to choosing to belong to a particular region, right? That money's power, uh, family's power, a lot of different powers that can be at play, but the power is yours for the choosing. You're not going to deploy that power unless you see it. If they're offering you triple your salary to move to an area that has lower cost of living, for you, you're going to be like, oh my God, I have the power to be dangerous. And it's a good feeling. The other part of it on it's your choice also comes to opportunity. So there are some large companies, as we mentioned, that has facilities all over the United States and also all over the globe. You could be working for a large company, let's say in Florida, and you've spent multiple decades there. Now it's time to really bump you up. And they're like, hey, unfortunately, we don't have any executive positions open here, but we do have an open position available in our Pennsylvania facility. Can you go be an executive there for a little bit, and then we'll bring you back to Florida when one opens up? Now that's not a power play, that's an opportunity. But then you're choosing, right? Opportunity of choosing. It's the power or opportunity of choosing the belonging to a particular region. So whether it's a power play or it's an opportunity given to you, it's still your choice at the end of the day. And even if you're on the aforementioned side of feeling as though your choice is removed due to being a caregiver, being in the military, at some level, it's still your choice. You know, you chose to enter the military or you're choosing to take care of the family. Again, there are definitely extreme scenarios where you are the only person that can do it and you have to do that, right? Understand you don't have the money to do alternatives to give yourself the ability to leave. Definitely understand those extremes, but in most cases, it's within everyone's power, and you just make choices of whether or not you will either use the power that's given to you or explore an opportunity that's given to you. But it's your choice, and a lot of it just comes down to preference. When we talk about geographic preference, and that phrase, preference is the key word because they need to be able to meet your desires, your demands. When we talked about the money aspect for the power, if they give you a compelling offer, it meets your preference of getting compensated well in order to influence you to move. It's very similar to grits. And I hope everyone listening knows what grits are. I mean, made from corn. If you live down south, Waffle House, All Star Special, egg scrambled with cheese, grits, raisin toast, blueberry waffle, bacon, and a coffee. Like, it's a normal part of culture, part of life, but that's not the same everywhere else. If you go to different parts of the United States, they may have a preference to something different. Easiest one to bring up is New York, obviously, very diverse, but in a certain area of New York, a lot of Jamaicans live there. A lot of Jamaicans. And of course, their preference isn't grits. It is cornmeal and porridge. And oh my God, it is so good. If you haven't been there or haven't been to, I would say, the um, Brooklyn area of New York and the boroughs slash, right there in Connecticut, that little region there, a lot of Jamaicans, and they prefer porridge and cornmeal based grits. And well, not based grits, but cornmeal, two grits. And it is delicious. It is delicious. And when you talk about preferences, it's like, I will definitely be open to that opportunity to try that. Absolutely. Bring me on board. Then you have other places that, mainly in the Midwest, they do cream of wheat. If anyone remembers malto meal, oh, Yeah, I will be the first to say I am not a huge fan, and that's not even corn. That's actually in the name wheat. It's doesn't taste the same. It kind of serves the same purpose, but it's not the same. And that's another thing when we talk about the choosing, right? If we're in cream of wheat zone, it's like this is the best we have. Oh, do I really take the opportunity? You know, it's my choice. Are you really going to take the cream of wheat? And then you have a decision to make, but and you know, it comes down to it being your choice. Then let's go extreme, right? If we go really extreme, there are some places out there. And the first time I saw this, I was like, what is this? There's no way that this is a thing. And apparently, this is a thing. There are areas that outside of grits, outside of cornmeal, outside of cream of wheat, will do cream of rice. And let me be the first to say that is not on my preferential list at all. That doesn't even make the list. This is not even a top four. It's like top two being grits and cornmeal. After that, you know, cream of wheat is a maybe, and cream of rice does not even make the list. We will I will make it the decision, make the choice of not doing that because that's just insane. But that's the same type of assessment that you have to have in your career when you talk about geographic mobility and your geographic preference. If you are someone that can't do the code, like at all, because you grew up in Southern Cal your entire life, you've never even seen snow before. I don't know why you're interviewing for a job in Chicago. Like you can't do it. And that brings up another good point and puts us right into our second takeaway. If you're going to always be in the situations, let's take that person that grew up in Southern California, now interviewing for a job in Chicago. It's their dream job with some consultant agency. It's what they went to school for. They went to, let's say, USC, and they have this opportunity to go work for this consulting firm in Chicago. Going through the interviews, everything's good. Never seen snow. Doesn't know what the cold feels like. We're talking Chicago, so the wind chill factor, totally foreign to this person. Would you choose not to do it because you don't know what you don't know? Second takeaway is you can never truly know everything. You can never truly know everything. You have your known risk and your unknown risk. When I was talking about grits, some of you listening may have known what all four of those things are: grits, cornmeal, uh, cream of wheat, cream of rice. I actually missed a very big fifth one. And when we talk about risk, there are the known risk and the unknown risk. The known risk is I'm expecting it to be cold. I know it's going to be cold, never dealt with it. How do I do this? The unknown risk was stuff that you weren't even aware existed. So when I gave you those four items, I left out a very important fifth one that would be unknown to you, and that's polenta. Right there are places that use polenta very very graciously, and that makes their top one of one or one of two, and it drives the thought of when you're making your geographic preference, you're just not going to know everything. You're not going to know what the neighborhoods are like, how well the crime is. You can look up the crime statistics, but you know, and Chicago's a great example of this, right? If you look up the crime statistics online, you're going to see one thing, but if you actually go downtown, you might see a totally different thing because the statistics, although could be accurate, don't paint enough specific picture for you to be able to make sound decisions. What's a sound decision? Well, I'm moving from Southern Cal to Chicago. Where do I live? What neighborhood do I live? What are the houses like? What's the neighborhood like? Can I just walk? Where are the nearest stores? There's only so much information that you can find online. Then, as we mentioned in the business travel episode, take the opportunity to go. If they're interviewing you, why can't the last interview be on site? Why can't you take a trip and fly up there to like do a house hunting to see where would I live? What's the neighborhood like? Hey, can someone take me to a Cubs game? Yeah, I said Cubs. If you're a White Sox fan, oh well. But I said it. And show me around of what this neighborhood is like, what's the best areas to live. You can connect with people that lived in Chicago and are also coming to the same company from Chicago and get their opinion and try to build as much knowledge base as you can so that you can make a calculated decision, understanding the risks that you do know. You just won't know them all. You didn't know that the area was great, but the landlord was horrible for the place that you're renting, and now they're giving you a bad experience because the landlord's horrible. It's a calculated risk, and we do as much work as possible to understand as much as we can in the forefront. We just won't truly know everything, and that's okay. So when you are identifying your geographic preference, just know you're not going to know everything. You're not going to know. If you're that person at Southern Cal, you will never know what cold winter is like until you go through it. You can't stimulate it. And if you do in your California home, ooh, the police might actually arrest you for using that much power to cool your place down to that level, if your place could even do that. I mean, you'll probably blow, every AC unit out before you get your place that cold. I mean, just go sit in the freezer for 10 minutes. But the point is, you're just not going to know everything. You would have to go through a Chicago winter to understand what that's like. Going back to the grits example for a minute, if you're in a area of the United States that has a Waffle House, obviously you're going to have grits. They're going to have grits. No, there's no Waffle House in the United States that doesn't serve grits. But then it's like, okay, I'm leaving South Carolina and I'm moving to Seattle. They don't have Waffle House in Seattle. I don't know what they have. What am I walking into? Then you have to come to the realization of what's the make or break for you. In your geographic preference, what's your make or break? What are the things that you're willing to be negotiable and what are the non-negotiables? And that's what the known risk and unknown risk really comes down to. Anything that's negotiable could kind of fall into unknown risk. The things that are non-negotiable have to be known risk. If it's non-negotiable, you got to know what the risks are. If you have young children, obviously you need to know the safety of the neighborhood. Non-negotiable, right? I need to know the school zone. I need to know the amount of police that are there. I need to know the ratings of not only the elementary school but the high schools. I need to know how much childcare costs. All these different factors that play and add into the non-negotiable that you set, so you make a known risk. The unknown risk could be like, yeah, I don't know what the state income tax is and how that affects income tax rate and how that affects the housing. You know, I know I want to buy a house, but I'm not going to make or break my decision just based off of the state having, high taxes, high property taxes. I will let that be an unknown risk. But having children, it's like, okay, school system has to be good. When you're single and you don't have children, you're going to find yourself with less overall risks than others. And that's okay. That's a great spot to be in. When you are not dating anyone actively or seriously enough to need to maintain a long distance relationship or keep the relationship when you move and you don't have kids, you're actually in a great spot. And as we talked about in the dating episode, moving may actually give you an opportunity to realize and see other people and find someone for you. You're that Southern Cal person that's moving to Chicago. You might find someone in Chicago and now make foundation settlement in Chicago with this other person. So don't ever feel as though because you don't know everything about the area, you don't know certain things that are negotiable risk, but still make you uneasy, still give you anxiety, to pull away and you not make the choice to go, make the choice to expand your geographic preference because you don't know those things. You're never going to know. And again, as we talked about in the business travel episode, take the opportunity to go. If this is, if you already know that your preference is, let's say, all the continental United States minus Hawaii and Alaska, and you live on the East Coast and you have an opportunity to travel to the West Coast, why not do it? Why not take that opportunity so that you can understand a little bit more about the area? Now, understand there is a major difference between visiting an area and living there. You'll hear a lot of people that's like New York, Miami, LA, Houston, Chicago, and even Boston. Major cities, love to visit, do not want to live there. Love visiting. You hear this most about New York and California. Love visiting, wouldn't live there. But if the opportunity or power of choice came to you about living there, you would already know it. You would know your risk. And actually, you would know majority of your risk, not all of them, but you would know majority of your risk. You would know if they serve grits or cream of wheat or polenta and be able to make a sound decision on whether or not you belong to that particular region. And guess what? The work was already pre-done, and on the business travel side, you didn't have to pay for it. That is like the best part. If you don't have to pay for it and you can learn and expand your geographic preference without even paying for it, why not do it? Some of you have already done this. We're talking career development, professional career development. But some of you have already did this when you went to college. Did you go to college in the same state that you went to high school in? For athletes, this is an easy conversation because they're given plenty of opportunities, majority of them not within their state, of choice to belong to that school. If you're a top ranked athlete coming out of high school, you're most likely going to go to the top ranked college that supports your prep into becoming a professional. And that most likely is not in your state. So if you are in college and it's not the state that you went to high school with, guess what? You've already gone through this. You already did the assessment of your known risk and your unknown risk. You already found out if they have grits or not, if they have a Waffle House. And guess what? It wasn't a deal breaker that they didn't have a Waffle House because they have a Jamaican restaurant that has cornmeal and we're Gucci and everything's good. So when it comes to geographic preference, don't forget if you left for school, you've already been through this. So when you make your roots at work early in your career, you're still fresh and you should still have as wide as a net as you did when you were making your college decision, especially if the opportunity comes by. Where this gets a little bit difficult, and like I said earlier, more complex, the complexity just goes higher, is when your household gets a little bit more complex and there's more layers. If it's just you, sure, this should be pretty easy. When it's a spouse plus children, or it's a spouse plus you're taking care of your parents, or you're just taking care of your parents, you have animals, it adds complexity, but it shouldn't take away your choice. Mind you, yes, understand, give you the validation. It may be a group decision where you have a spouse, opportunity comes your way, you yourself have a choice, but you are a good spouse, so you have that conversation with them and you express your choice, and jointly there's a choice made. Definitely understand those scenarios, but at least there's some level of you having a choice in the matter. If the opportunity is great enough, all great spouses would support that. If someone's like, hey, I can make quadruple what I make now if we move 2 states over, and your spouse is like, no, we have to live close to your mother-in-law, and that's final. It's like, huh? Like, I hope for everyone listening that they are not in scenarios like that, and it's more positive where it's like I'm getting the right opportunity, or I am using some of the power that I have in order to choose to belong to an area that provides something better for us. Now, if you're early in your career, this is another time that you need to reach out to your mentors, your sponsors, your coaches, and your peers that are a lot more senior than you and talk to them about their career and them moving. A lot of people that you meet weren't born and raised in the same state or area that you're currently working at. Those are the people that you got to have the conversations with where it's like, what brought you here? How did you get here? What was the timing of it? Why did you choose to stay here? And have you stayed anywhere else? Take that opportunity to learn and get examples from your elders and your elder millennials and the people that have gone through this whole transition because it is hard. It is a scary decision, but it is your choice. So you want to be equipped. You want to know as much as you can. Obviously, you're not going to know 100%, but a solid 93 is percent is still an A. You're trying to get to 93. So build that knowledge bank, build the information up from those other people, and they're going to help you identify the right questions to ask as well so that you can get more comfortable with some of these decisions. The last key takeaway that we're going to get into that honestly could have been the first one, but I like the way that this was flowing, so I'm going to make it the last one. Just if you take out a map, where in 2025, no one has a printed map anymore. If you just look on your phone, zoom out so that you can see all the United States. And if you were going to highlight the states that you would say yes to in green, the ones in maybes in yellow, and the ones that you would say absolutely no to in red, that's your circle. And your circle represents opportunities. This is going to be a hard pill for many people to swallow, but I'll say it anyway. If it's a no state, don't waste your time looking. If you are one of those people that I won't move more than a 4-hour drive from my family, and you live in, let's do New England. If you live in the northeast part of United States, like New York, Philly, Boston, that little strip there, if you live over there and you know for a fact that you can't live more than 4 hours away from family, family comes first, second, and third for you. You want to stay close to your family. Why on earth are you taking an interview from Amazon in the Pacific Northwest? They already said that this job is full on site in office 5 days a week up in Washington. Why are you even taking that interview? If it's one thing that I noticed in my career, it's the people that have wasted a lot of time in their career search because they say, or at least have this notion of, oh, I'll be willing to move for the right opportunity. Oh, I'll be willing to move for the right number. And then the company meets that number. They're like, yeah, I'll be willing to move if they can hit this. And then you get, 30, 45% higher than that. Then what? Now you're turning the job down. Oh, it's not the right job. I've heard this swan song so many times that it's actually annoying at this point to hear it because the reality is it was a no for you. It was a no. The state was a no. And when you do that assessment, you know whether a state is a yes or a no. If you don't know much about the state, you can throw it in the maybe category, and that's fair game because obviously there is a level of power or opportunity that can convince you to go there. Um, except for, and let's throw this out there, right? Sorry for the people that live there, but we got to throw it out. If it's Iowa, you know nothing about Iowa, let me go ahead and tell you. Iowa's red. We're not going to make Iowa yellow. I was probably red. There is a couple great things out there and a couple of major companies, but Not much. It's for some people. It's for some people. You talk about like North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. I couldn't tell you what's out there. Couldn't even tell you. But for me, they're red because I want to be close to a major city, right? There's no major city close. Montana also out red for me, right? When you do that assessment, you're going to hit states like that too, where it's like, oh, I don't really know much about that state. But then you got to think about your priorities, what's your negotiables and non-negotiables. And if your non-negotiable is, you want to live by some people, major city, and you don't know a major city in that state, guess what? That state's red. Like we don't there's no reason to now take an interview for a job that's in North Dakota when you can't even identify a major city in North Dakota. Like what? Don't waste your time. We are in the age of the internet. You can look up so many things, get so much information between social media, uh, both good and bad social media, just searching the web, talking to people. You can get a lot of information prior to that interview so that you're not wasting your time. If you are the Southern Cal person and you visited a Chicago winter and you said absolutely the not, why are you still taking an interview? Oh, well, there's a number that they can give me. But when you got home, you said that you will never live in some place that's that cold. So if there's a number, the cold is negligible. And that's the part that people miss. Like if there is a number that they can give you and you will sign that day, the code has now become negotiable. And that's the type of seriousness that you have to take making your circle, because your circle represents the opportunity. Your circle, and I'm using the United States because this podcast is mainly about the United States. If you go global, you would do the same exercise. But staying with the United States, if you go through that exercise of marking states as green that you would say yes to, marking states as yellow that it's maybe negotiable, and marking states that red that you have no interest in going to at all, that is now your circle of opportunity. If you mark both Florida and Texas red, Florida, Texas, and Alabama, if those are all marked red, your probability of getting into space, that industry of space, not aerospace, like space, SpaceX, Blue Origin, the Kennedy Space Center, NASA. If your goal is to get to space, but all three of those states are red, you got to realize that conflict and do something about it. And I notice a lot of people don't do anything about that conflict. They recognize it. Some people don't, actually, let me take that back. Some people don't even recognize it. But for the people that do recognize it, they don't deconflict that issue. And that's what I want you to do. We're going to talk about it a little bit more at the table. But the whole point of having that circle is so that you know your opportunity. And if there's conflicts between your desires and that circle, you got to deconflict it. I know a lot of people that want to go into a very specific industry, do very specific things, but their circle excludes them. You have to realize and take the opportunity to really understand what's included in that circle. It's not about, hey, I want to go to company A. Well, if you're going to company A, all states that company's in should qualify. You can nix a few. Let's say that company's in 10 states. You want to nix 6 of them, fine. 4 are green. But you can't say I want to go to company A and all 10 states are nixed. That's a bad conflict to have. Where it should be, I have 15 states marked as green. Available to me is company B, C, D, E, F, are what the major players in the industry that I'm in, or minor players, but those are the companies that I'm interested in based off the industry that I'm in that I would go pursue. And really take the time to do that assessment and understand it so that you don't have that conflict that you're working on. It happens to so many people and so many younger people as well, where your life changes. You get a spouse, you get children, and you now want to continue pursuing your passions. And guess what? Hey, that passion says that I want to go live in this state, and your spouse says, no. And now you're going through the worst deconflict of your life because you pursued an opportunity and now you're trying to play power in a state that was red on the list. Out of the green, yellow, reds, you're trying to pick a state that was a no for the list of the joint household, and the power play that you're making is not big enough. Don't get in that type of conflict. Make sure you really understand what your circle is and what opportunities exist, because that circle represents opportunities. So we'll start to wrap this up. There's going to be a lot more examples when we get to the table. I know a lot of people that have gone through this. People that are a little bit more tenured understand this topic really easily because at that point they made their decision. Once you get past a certain threshold in your career, you're not really moving as much, especially as your kids get older. They get to, I would say, right before middle school or right at middle school. Most parents want to be grounded. They don't want to continue moving from there. So they will ground their family in order to make sure the kids have consistency to finish out their middle school and high school lives. And that's for the children. You're using your power in order to ensure that your children have the choice to belong to the same consistent region. Also a choice. And that's the right choice to make. When you're younger and you don't have all this responsibility, you should be a lot of those states should be green. A lot of those states should be open to you. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. So I'm not going to be pushy. It's your choice to make. And make sure you hold it as your choice. Understand the household may have other internal influences as it gets more complex, but for most of us, it's just us and we can make that choice. And when you go to make that choice, remember number 2, we don't know everything. We don't know everything. So you make your geographic preference and you don't know if that place serves polenta or cream of wheat. You know it doesn't serve grits because there's no Waffle House. Ha ha ha. But it's like, oh, I don't know if there's a Jamaican population that has that really good cornmeal. Or is it a cream of rice place? Ugh, like you got to do your homework to try to get to that 93%. But 93% is going to have to be good enough because we just truly won't know everything. And it's okay because it's a tall task. Remember, the United States is currently 50 states. That is a big assessment to make in order to create that circle. Identify those states that are yes, no, maybes to create that circle that represents the opportunities ahead of you. At the end of the day, we want you thriving. And in order to do that, you got to know what opportunities are available to you so that it can become your world. Sorry. You got to know what opportunities are available to you because that becomes your world and that world is your oyster. And with that, we'll turn off this stove, take off the thinking apron, and let's just say the dishes will get done later. This topic wasn't a big mess, but if we learned something today, then we know there's a little cleaning up to do. I do want to talk this topic more, maybe trade stories about this soon, like this Thursday soon. I hope to see you there. Thanks for being in the corporate kitchen today. I'm your host, Tiger. Until next time.